And there is much anticipation to see this guy in his spring game, Bryce Underwood at Michigan.
I don't think there wasn't a recruiting segment these past couple, this fall heading into this December and everything with that 2025 class where Bryce Underwood was not mentioned. I know TJ and the guys over at the Michigan channel and the whole Michigan base here at the Voice of College Football is definitely excited. I know that even with potential high caliber talent as Underwood, there's always, I feel, that stigma that comes in, especially at the quarterback position, Mark, for these young guys going in, because we've seen it one too many times where we see Gatorade Players of the Year, high caliber 5 stars, Bryce Underwood, who are elite at the high school level, but can they make that jump? We know that Sharon Moore didn't really have his guy coming into this spring battle. But I think that Underwood, from this young set of quarterbacks, because this spring, Mark, and we'll be talking about some of them here in Slater List, there's a lot of early enrollees. There's a lot of these 2025 classes that are going to be going into some huge quarterback. But I think, Underwood really sets himself up. And I think this is a kid, when you watch his film, as elite as he is, I think that he's already in that situation, that mind frame, especially again in Michigan. I think it's going to be a nice transition. He really is a special talent. And I think that he's going to help the Wolverines really go deep in the Big Ten. I know a lot of times, like I said, there's a lot of hesitation bringing in the young guys. Do they have that maturity? Is their skill set elite enough, especially in a program like Michigan with that high demand, to make a push in the thing? And I really do believe that Bryce Underwood is one of those guys at the QB that has the maturity, that has the skill set, that he's going to compete right out the jump. I really think that he's going to be the guy to watch this spring, and it will be interesting to see how he takes shape. But again, I think he brings a unique and special talent. And I think he's one of the few young guys that you want to take a chance on. I think Sharon Moore knew that coming out of the gate. His NIL deals and packages have been one to talk about. They definitely set the standards for a lot of these younger guys coming in, high demand. But for all the investment that Michigan is, I think that this is one that is going to translate immediately. And at some point, I know that a lot of classes focus on getting guys at the transfer portal for their experience and maturity. But I also think at some point you got to take a risk and a chance. And if I'm Michigan and I'm Sharon Moore, it is clear that with a special talent that I think Underwood's going to bring this spring. So he's definitely one to watch for the Wolverines.
Yeah, I don't like to make comparisons, but my backflip is very similar to Bryce Underwood's. If you saw it on the highlight there, my backflip. Never mind. So anyway, the situation at Michigan is basically Davis Warren is a holdover from last year. Davis Warren had his struggles early in the season, was a much better player late in the season, and took some command of the offense, played really well against Alabama in the bowl game. And then they go out and get a transfer quarterback in Mikey Keene, who was a starter part-time at UCF, went to Fresno State, the two-time starter there for the past 2 seasons at Fresno State. 71% completion percentage for Mikey Keene last year, 18 touchdowns, 11 picks. He's thrown 65 touchdowns in his career. So they've got that veteran in place, or 2 veterans actually in place, where the conventional thought is they start with a veteran week 1, and maybe by week 4, week 5, Bryce Underwood's ready to go. Although there are some people that have said, man, we've seen these guys all work out together, and the other 2, they're capable power conference quarterbacks, but he's just, at another level. The ceiling is just so ridiculous. As long as he can grasp the offense, and obviously he's going to have a complete spring and August camp to do that and to display that it would be no surprise if Bryce Underwood was the starter for Michigan in week 1.
And I think the spring, especially having Underwood on campus early, it really helps to say, like you mentioned, when you got veteran guys bringing in a young guy like Underwood, we've seen a lot of high caliber programs, especially ones that are known to develop quarterbacks. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, we know what his method behind his bragness when he brings a young guy in to create competition. But again, I mention it, almost every show about when you have elite players, how do you separate yourself? And indeed, Underwood has found a way to separate himself. And there's a lot of people that, look at him in comparison. And like you said, when you see him in live reps, he's one of those kids that his talent translates onto the field. And I think that this will give him a big push. If anything, he may not be the starter just because I believe that, they might allow the veterans to kind of ease into things and give him a transition. But again, I do believe that the special talent that he brings and everything that you had mentioned too will definitely be something to look at it. And I think that spring he will definitely be under the microscope. But Michigan Wolverine fans, if they aren't already excited to have him on campus, they definitely are going to be more excited to get to see more of his ability to translate this spring for the Wolverines.